The reign of Cleopatra threatened with the new news from ASCO this year. I'd like to begin with the current paradigm and the long-standing treatment that we've been using for first-line HER2 positive metastatic disease, which is the CLEOPATRA regimen. We've been using that for more than 10 years. What's your take on that? Is the reign of Cleopatra threatened with the new news from ASCO this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we have been using THP for 13 years from 2012. And of course, it's not for everybody. And, I do have patients with neuropathy, and I do have patients really with aggressive disease. And there are patients who absolutely do not want to lose the hair.
Sure.
So we need options. And I cannot believe we only have one option for 13 years. I'm very excited we have different options now.
That's great. Can I ask you, for the hormone receptor positive, HER2 positive patients in the first line who get a Cleopatra-like regimen, were you layering in anti-estrogens during the maintenance phase with the dual antibodies after the taxane routinely on everybody?
Yeah, routinely. Yeah. We do know that there is crosstalk between the ER and the HER2 pathway. Right. It makes a lot of sense to incorporate the anti-hormone therapy earlier in the game.
Right. And last year at San Antonio, we saw a late-breaking abstract presentation of the PATINA trial, which was an induction with a Cleopatra taxane and dual antibody regimen, followed by a maintenance phase that incorporates not only anti-estrogen but CDK4/6 inhibition. What's your take on that?
Oh, it was exciting. It was practicing changing, and in my opinion, when it's triple positive, those patients should be offered the PATINA regimen. It's not widely accepted by every single oncologist yet, but specifically for those patients, triple positive, high-risk disease, and they should be offered.
Are you able to do that now? Do you have any trouble with insurance authorization with the PATINA regimens?
No, I actually have been lucky, and as a matter of fact, the day of San Antonio last year, I actually, right before that, I saw a patient, and she was on PATINA since then.
Wow, that's really exciting. Now, I understand PATINA has yet to be published in a peer-reviewed format, and I don't think the guidelines committees or the FDA has weighed in on that regimen. How do your colleagues feel about that? I know they're probably early adopters, both academic and in the community, that do things early, literally on Monday after an exciting late-breaking presentation like that. They had such extraordinary results. But others are more measured. They wait for the peer review, wait for the guidelines and the regulators to weigh in. Where do you sit in that spectrum? And how about your colleagues? Do they share your enthusiasm with early adoption? Of
course, I'm the early adopters, and I actually run quite a few clinical trials regarding the crosstalk between the ER and HER2 pathway. I'm a strong believer that there's two pathway crosstalk, and we should target both rather than just one. Of course, not all the colleagues are the early adopters as me, and there are hesitancies too. I got that in the way there are some patients that can be disease-free NED for 10, 20 years without the CDK4/6 inhibitor. It does add on toxicity. So the question would be, who is going to benefit the most, and make sure we're not over-treating the patients with unnecessary toxicity.
Makes sense.